have to remember the hiss. The hiss is the enemy.
Hello, how's everyone doing? This is Thunderbob, bringing you a review of Control. I just finished this game and wanted to share a few of my thoughts on why you should give this game a try. First off, a history lesson. Remedy has a history in this genre, with Max Payne, Alan Wake, and Quantum Break, each being third-person shooters with a heavy emphasis on story and a very cinematic presentation, and the later two having a substantial dose of supernatural elements. Control feels like the culmination of everything that those games brought to the table. First, the combat is a refinement of the gunplay from Max Payne. While it does not have bullet time, the way the world destructs around you during these gunfights leaves a very similar cinematic feeling. You also gain several supernatural abilities throughout the course of the game, leaning heavily into Alan Wake and Quantum Break, and even the bullet time from Max Payne.
Objects of power can cause or be results of AWE's altered world events, intrusions upon the perceived reality. A side note, remember to cover their connection to the astral plane as well. Now, the service weapon is, of course, a prime example of an OOP, a very powerful one. Ingrained in the Bureau's DNA, a key component in our prime candidate program. Come out of that Russian roulette a winner and you're it. Lose and you're, well, fired. Thank you. I'm Dr. Darling, Head of Research, Federal Bureau of Control.
There is a single weapon in Control, the service weapon, though you do have the ability to upgrade this weapon into several different combinations that serve as everything from a shotgun, a sniper rifle, an assault rifle, and even explosive weapons. There's a single pool of energy that each mode pulls from, and it takes some time to recharge. You also gain the ability to mod your weapons and also your abilities to increase damage, lower the cost of your shots, and give you a lot of options to customize your arsenal. There's also a skill tree that allows you to upgrade your various powers, increase your health, increase the amount of energy you have at any time, and again, really just let you customize the way you want to play the game. During the downtime, while your service weapon is recharging, you have several powers that you can access. This primarily comes in the form of launch, which I played most of the game as my main attack. This allows you to pick up any object or piece of the level geometry and use it as a weapon. You also receive a melee attack, a dodge, a shield, and most importantly, the ability to levitate. It's really when all of these abilities come together, and you cycle through them and your service weapon, that the combat finally comes together. There are a good amount of enemy types, several bosses to fight, to use these abilities, but in the end I wish there was a little bit more of a challenge, as these enemies do start to become repetitive. And the lack of a true final boss was disappointing. We'll spend just a moment going through a couple of combat scenarios.
Mistake.
the next thing I wanted to discuss was the story, characters, and settings of the game. The game primarily takes place in a place called the Oldest House. This is an ancient building that's hidden in New York City, except for those with the ability to find it. This is the only location for the entire game, but it's a building of infinite size and configuration. You'll find thresholds into alien worlds and all kinds of impossible architecture. As you unlock new abilities, you'll find new areas you could not previously explore, and a ton of secrets, to the point the game almost feels like a Metroidvania at times. The Oldest House is full of fascinating and impossible architecture that constantly had me looking forward to the next area. The Oldest House really felt like a character unto itself and really brings the game together. You also encounter numerous other characters, from scientists to the previous director, security agents, crazy Finnish janitor, might be some kind of interdimensional super being. These characters present you with plenty of story missions and a ton of optional side missions. I enjoyed the story, though it does fizzle out a little towards the end, and I'm hoping the upcoming DLC adds to this. Some of the side missions also feel a little bit like fetch quests, but most are interesting, with a lot of enjoyable interactions with the cast. There's an unevenness to the difficulty at times. Some of the missions felt too easy, and then suddenly you'd run into a side mission that was impossible until you level up or gain some new abilities. One mission in particular, involving the mold, was particularly frustrating, with a long run back after you die. After doing some research online, it seems like you're intended to go back after you gain the levitate ability, but there's nothing that tells you this in the game. In addition to getting story from characters, you also find files, notes, records in the field, and also videotapes, like the service weapon one you saw earlier, and this one right here.
Step into the FBC, there's lots to do, there's lots to be, but don't dash, and don't scream much. Let's join the Threshold Kids. Let's join the Threshold Kids.
Hey, Meg! What's wrong?
My mom's dead.
I'm so sorry, Meg. What happened?
I don't know. They blacked it out.
It's like the director says. Confidential and children both start with C.
The director's a puppet. A dirty, rotten, fart person.
Dad says my mama went missing in actions. She walked into the city and didn't come back. I don't know what missing in actions is, but I sure wish someone would find her.
I'll help you look, Topher. We'll find your mama together.
So yeah, that was creepy as hell. You run into all kinds of videos like that. Videos that the Bureau created to try to indoctrinate these children that they came across, abducted, kidnapped, whatever you want to call it. There's also the videotapes from the scientists. You also have something called the Hotline, which is like a direct connection to the board, which is this interesting supernatural entity that seems to be directing the Bureau, represented by an upside-down black pyramid. Also on the Hotline, you can get information from the previous, now deceased director, who is voiced by perhaps a familiar voice from Max Payne.
The containment sector, the Panopticon, is home to the altered items we find and contain. It is a maximum security prison. It's a vault for the most valuable treasures on Earth.
The presentation here is top-notch. They've taken the live companion show from Quantum Break and better integrated it into the game. You come across video cassettes from the scientists explaining the world of the oldest house. You also find these creepy videos used to try to teach concepts to these kids in the hope that they become prime candidates for the next director. There's also the hotline from which you receive messages from an otherworldly interdimensional entity from which the Bureau takes guidance. Overall, this story is just so interesting. It's taken aspects from a ton of really awesome weird fiction. Twin Peaks, The X-Files, the SCP, creepypasta stories, House of Leaves, and it's kind of merged them all together into this really interesting world that I hope that Remedy gets to continue to explore. Here's a little taste of some of the interactions you get with the characters later, and just some of the wackiness of the story. Check this out.
You are a worm through time.
Shit.
The thunderstorm distorts you.
That's Dylan.
White pearls
Can
that
you hear
yellow
me?
red in the eye.
Oh, come on, Dylan. I'm here. I found you.
Into the way. You've always been a new you. You want this to be true.
Do you know who I am? You know me. Say it.
You are Dylan Faden's sister.
He's talking in the third person. Always a good sign. Do you know who you are?
Not Dylan. Trench and Darling made sure of that. I'm P6. P6. But I'm better now. The hiss made me better. Push the fingers through the surface into the wet. You've always been the new you. You want this
Can you
to
stop
be
that?
true.
Please. Not exactly the reunion I'd hoped for.
It feels good to say those words. I want to say them. They sound good. They make me feel good. Don't you want to say them too?
No. Fuck off, no. You need to help me get this thing out of his head. If he is still in there, if there is anything left, you have to help me.
You came in through the hole in you. We let you in. You've always been here. The only true. A copy of a copy of a copy of a copy.
Stop it!
Orange peel.
Shit. Shit. He can see you. This is not safe.
We found Polaris together with my sister when we were very small, in ordinary, in the desert, through the door opened up by the slide projector. But she didn't help when Trench took me away. She didn't give me any powers. All the powers are my own powers. She didn't help when they locked me. An earworm is a tune you can't stop humming in a dream. Baby, 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 yeah. Just plastic, so safe, nothing to worry about. Funny. I welcomed the hiss. I let it in to get rid of her. The hiss set me free. Polaris is using you. The Bureau is using you. You are a puppet. You can almost hear our words, but you forget.
So yeah, this is Control. It's a really cool game. I really enjoyed it. I'm hoping the DLC is great. It looks like one of the next DLCs is actually going to be based around Alan Wake in some way, as there are some hints in the game, some Easter eggs that indicate that this actually takes place in the same universe as Alan Wake. I'm really looking forward to that. Can't wait to check that out. Just an amazing game. I'm not going to score it. I'm just going to say you should play this game. Between the interesting combat, the interesting characters, the setting, the callbacks to Alan Wake and their previous games. If you have any enjoyment of Quantum Break, Alan Wake, Max Payne, you deserve to give this a try. I'm going to leave you with one last funny clip from the game. Just want to thank everyone for listening, watching. If you enjoyed this, please leave me a comment below. If you want to see more content like this, please feel free to subscribe. I'm going to try to continue making new videos every week. Thank you.
This is a dream inside my head. Why shouldn't it take me anywhere I want to go?
Nobody knew her name, but she turned up just the same. There was a knock on the door, a thump on the floor, and the party turned insane as she called out her name.